All right, welcome to the section where we're going to finally get started here building this Instagram app. And so the thing that we want to focus on here is the login screen. And so this is what it is that you're aiming to build. We're going to have a nice Instagram logo at the top. You can enter in a username and a password. If you forget to enter the username or the password, either one, if you try and sign up or something, you should get a message that says, hey, a username and a password is required. But if you go ahead and enter in the proper information, like a user I created earlier, John ABC123, and I try and sign up. So this is a new user a user that's been already created. If I try and sign up that person, I should get a message that says, hey, that already exists. But if I switch to login and I have the proper information and I log in, I should have logged out in Android Studio that, hey, it was successful. You don't have to visually show anything for that because our next step is we want to make it actually start the app and move into the main screens there. But that's the challenge for you. Want you to do as much of this as you can on your own, and I'll come back and help you out. Good luck. So in this lecture, we're going to start building this Instagram clone. And the thing that we want to build here is the login/sign up screen. And before we get started with anything, we want to make that page look really nice. So we're going to dive into the visual side of things. And there's a couple of steps that we've got to do to get there. So one of them is that if we go to our Android Studio project, you may see this with your particular project. You may not see it. But if we go to edit the layout file, if we open up this activity main, you may see a kind of grayed out screen here that doesn't allow us to update the information that's inside of this relative layout that we have here. You've got it's saying Android ... action bar overlay layout. So if this is the case for you, if you're seeing this, hopefully I'm going to try and get some fixes in there so you won't run into this issue. If you just have a white screen, that means you're ready to rock and roll. But if you do have this, we can fix it. And what we're going to do is we're going to close out of that, and then we're going to go to our Gradle scripts here, and we want to do the build.gradle for the module. So double click on that. And then once we're there, we want to update this for the latest version of Android. So we're going to change this compile SDK version to 26. This minimum SDK version, that's going to be 26, target 26. And if we scroll down here, we want to change this from 23 to 26.0.0. So just take a second to go ahead and do those updates there. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and hit sync now. And this is going to take a moment to kind of go through everything and get this project ready to rock and roll. But while it is doing this, let's go ahead and go to our browser, because part of making this nice login screen is we need a good image. So let's open up a new tab, and you can use whatever sort of site search you want to go get a good image. We need some sort of Instagram icon. I like the website flaticon.com. I'll go ahead and do a little search for Instagram. Remember, wherever you get your images, make sure that if you're going to release it on the store, that you have proper rights to use those images. So here on Flaticon, you just have to give, excuse me, you have to give proper respect to the creator. So here it's free pick, and again, we're not putting this in the App Store, but it'd be as simple as referencing them at some point in your app if you want to use that. Or there's a paid version where you don't even have to mention that. But I'm getting too deep into the weeds here. Let's go ahead and download a version. Let's do maybe 256 PNG here. That's a nice looking logo. And let's go ahead and throw that on our desktop. Okay, let's go back to Android Studio. Looks like things have been fixed up here. Let's look at our activity main, see if that's fixed things for us. We might have to end up deleting this file and opening it again. We'll go ahead and give it a second here to work itself out. No, it looks like it's going to be okay. So with that in place, let's go ahead and start building this out. And part of that is going to be getting that Instagram image into our app. So we're going to right click res here, and we want to do a new resource directory, because we want to have a drawable folder so we can add that image. So I'm going to do drawable, hit OK there, and then I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to copy this Instagram image, and I'm going to paste it here. It's going to ask, do you want to add this in? I'm going to say yes. And now let's give ourselves some space to work with here. We want to bring out a image, so we're going to select image view and just drag and drop it here. It's going to ask what image you want to put in there, so let's just go ahead and search for Instagram. We'll hit enter. That'll allow us to bring that in. So we want to have this near the top, but we don't want it to be that big. So rather than wrap content, we're going to set just a specified amount here, and this is a square image, so maybe we could just simply say 50 by 50. That looks maybe a little bit small. I might bump that up to like 70 by 70 there. Okay, but we'll have that Instagram image. The next thing that we need to be adding here is some edit text, because the basic idea with this is we want users to be able to put in a username, and they also should be able to put in their password and then hit sign in. So let's go to text, and we're going to bring out a plain text here, our edit text, and we'll bring it a little bit below, and we want to make this nice and wide, so we'll just say go ahead and match parent. We're also going to bring out another one of these below, and on this one too we'll say we want you to match parent, and then we're going to bring out a button below all this that says sign up. So we'll have this button, and we're going to double click on this button to change its text to say sign up. Okay, we've got that. Then we need to change these two edit text. So for this first one, we want to get rid of the we want to add a hint there and get rid of this name thing. So we'll get rid of hint name, and we're going to add a hint here, and the hint is going to be username. And then we'll come down here for our next one, get rid of name, and we're going to add as our hint password, so the user knows those are the two things that they should be typing in that box. Now with this sign up button, we want to make sure that we give a name for its on click. So let's go ahead and add a name like sign up clicked. That looks good. And with this in place, we just have to give some IDs to this. So image view 2, I don't think we'll be working with the image views, so that's probably fine. But for this, we want to call this something like username edit text. For this guy here, say yes to this. For our password friend, we're going to say password edit text. Let's get rid of that too. And we'll say yes to that. And with this sign up button, we'll call it sign up button. And we'll add that. Okay. So now that we have the proper IDs in place, it's time to go write some code for when someone hits the sign up button. So let's go to our main activity here. And we have a whole lot of code from last time. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out most of this. We still want this parse analytics stuff. But from here, and I guess even before this onCreate, we want to make a new method in which we are going to be responding to the onClick. And we had given our onClick the name of sign up clicked. So let's just go ahead and copy that to make sure we don't make any mistakes. And we're going to say public void sign up clicked. We're going to have a view passed inside of there, which we'll just call view, and then we'll do our curly brackets. Then once we have that in place, we have to get access to the two edit text. So we'll say edit text, we'll call this one username edit text, and this will just be equal to find view by ID, capital R dot ID dot username edit text. That'll be one. We can copy and paste most of this for the next edit text because they're so similar. Just this one will be called password edit text, and we'll have to change this to password edit text. So then once we have access to both of those, the first thing that we want to attempt and sort of check for is make sure that we have both a username and a password. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little if statement here. I say little, you're going to watch, this is going to end up being pretty big. And the first thing we want to check is, let's get the username edit text dot get text dot, and then we want to turn that into a string, and we want to check and see if this is equal to an empty string. So if that's equal to an empty string, or we have the password edit text dot get text dot toString is equal to an empty string. If either of these things are true, we want to send a message to the user that a username and a password are required. So we'll do a toast message here. And we're going to say toast.makeText, and in this we'll pass this as a context, and then we'll say something like a username and a password are required, so that the user knows something's wrong. They didn't give the proper information. And then the next thing is we have to say how long we want this to show for. So we're going to say toast dot, I like length short. You can decide that. And then we'll finally show this toast message. All right, so that's the situation if they were, didn't enter in both a username and a password. But the else of this situation is a good situation. This means they have those two things in place, and we should attempt to sign up the user. So we're going to come to the login portion in a second here, but we want to focus on signing up. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get a parse user, and we'll just call this person user, and this is a new parse user. Okay. Once we're here, we've got to set the user's username and password, which we have from the edit text. So we can say username.set username, and it's looking for a string. So we're going to get to the username edit text.get text. That was not get text. That was something much bigger. Here we go. Get text dot toString, and that'll successfully go and grab that. We also want to set the password, so then we'll go to our password edit text.get text.toString. You probably could have guessed that one, huh? And once we have those things in place, we are ready to sign up this user. So we're going to say user.signup in background. We want to get access to the callback, so we're going to say new sign up callback there, and we simply just want to know if this worked out. So we're going to check our exception here. We're going to say if e is equal to null. Let's make sure we have two equal sign there. So if it's equal to null, that means things are probably good. Then we can go ahead and write out some sort of message like saying, maybe the sign up. Oh, I forgot that we're trying to do a log here. So we're going to say log I, and we'll say sign up, comma, success. And I forgot to put that in double quotes. There we go. That looks better. So we've got that in place. But if for some reason we aren't able to get the sign up process to work, we need to display the reason why so the user knows what's going on. So we're going to do a toast as well here. So we're going to say toast.makeText this, and then for the string, we're actually going to use the exception, and on the exception we can do a .get message, and this is a little bit of a friendlier sort of text that we could show to the users that's not going to show some big massive error code that would kind of freak them out. So in this situation we'll just say e.get message. That's the thing that we want to show to the user. Decide how long we want this to show up for. I think short's a good idea, and then we'll go ahead and show that. So with this all in place, let's go ahead and run this on our device. See what this looks like. Oh, we are getting an error here, and this is because we need to get to the main activity.this. That should fix our issues there, but we're in the middle of building, so we'll see if, yeah, okay, that kind of crapped out. So we'll hit run again, and hopefully this time we'll get success there. So basic idea here is we're first going to check and see if either of these strings, these edit texts were left empty. If they were, we're going to do a little toast to say, hey, these username and password are required. But if not, we're going to try and sign up. If it's successful, we should see a new user created in the back end on parse. So pretty exciting moment here for us. So we'll get our emulator up here and just wait till this finishes. So our app opened up, and here it is. Let's go ahead and try just hit the sign up button without even typing anything inside. So we'll go ahead and hit that, and look at this. We get a java.lang exception, which is not exactly what we wanted, but still we can say something, username cannot be missing or blank. Okay, so we are getting an error here, and what's actually happened is it did try and do the sign up process, but the reason for that is because we kind of poorly did the check here to see if these things were completely empty. So we want to do a little bit of a better check here, and so what we're going to do is after we've done our toString, we're going to say dot matches, and we'll put an empty string inside of there. And again, we'll do the same thing here where we're going to say dot matches, and we'll go ahead and put an empty string there. So with that change in place, hopefully we'll see a little bit of an error code here, because that was not one that you would expect to see as a user. That was our fault as programmers, that we were using the wrong sorts of if statements there. So let's see what we get now. Here comes the app, and we'll hit sign up, and look at that, a username and password are required. And let's say I put in a new username like John, and I hit sign up. Still it says that because I didn't have a password. So let's go ahead and put in a password. Maybe I'll just say ABC123, and we'll go ahead and sign up. And we don't see any toasts here, but if we go to our to-do, or logcat, excuse me, we should see sign up success. So that means it's telling us that it went through correctly. Well, let's go ahead and confirm this by going to our parse dashboard. Let's reload this page, and look at that. We have a new user, John. So to sort of test our code as well, let's go ahead and try hitting sign up again for John. And if we hit sign up, look at that, account already exists for this username. So we know that, all right, we're getting back some good information if we try and sign up with the same name or something like that. All right. So excellent starting point here. Really the next thing for us to do is we've got to add the option now for someone to log in. So we're going to go back to Android Studio, and we're going to work on the visual side of things again. So we want to add an option sort of off here to the side that says, you can sign up or you could log in. And so we could use another button. It might look a little bit tacky. So we're going to take just a regular text view here. We're going to put it right off to the side, and with this in place, we're going to give it some sort of text like or, comma, login, just like that. And there's a few other changes that we want to make here, specifically the text color. We want it to be different from other text so that the user kind of knows, oh, this is something that I could probably tap on and interact with. So with this, we can go ahead and choose an option. Maybe this blue looks pretty good. I think that kind of conveys what we're trying to do. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And I might bump up the font on this. And I believe that's through text size that we can do that. So let's maybe see what 20 looks like. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So we'll have that off to the side there. The next thing that we've got to do is we've got to make it so that this text view can actually be selected, right? Like that we have, we are listening to see whether or not it's been tapped. So to do that, there's a few things that we've got to do. Let's go to our main activity. We've done this before. But after we have this extends app compatibility, we're going to write some extra code that says implements, and we're going to do capital view dot on click listener. So this is saying, hey, this is, can handle when different elements are being clicked on, and we have to go and implement a function for that. So we're going to do on click. If you just go ahead and type that out, should be able to hit enter there, and that's going to get rid of that error that you saw up top. Now that we have this in place, we want to check and make sure that the thing that they've clicked is in fact the proper text view. So we're going to do an if statement here where we're going to say if, get our curly brackets in there, and we want to do view dot get ID. This gives us back an int. We're going to see if this is equal to r.id, and I realized we haven't given a proper ID to this text view. So we'll maybe call this login text view. It's a little bit, maybe not the greatest name because these are going to switch between being login and sign up, but we'll just kind of work with that paradigm for now. But now we should be able to say dot login text view, and we can check and make sure that this is the correct one. So if this is the case, let's go ahead and make sure we're on the right track by logging out some info and say switch was tapped. Okay. So once we have that in place, we're still not done here. We're going to have to scroll down to our onCreate method. And inside of here is where we're going to want to set that this text view should be, looking for that function. So first we got to have access to the text view. So we're going to say text view, and let's just call this login text view. We're going to say this is equal to find view by id r.id.login text view. Simple as that. Then once that's in place, we want to take this login text view, and let me do the proper importing here. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. And still not happy with what we have. Let's go ahead and let's see, login text view here. I mean, ultimately what we want to do is set on click listener. So we'll do the set on click listener, and we'll pass in this. And let's see if we can't figure out what's going on here. Implicit cast. Because we are working with a different version of Android here, we're going to have to cast this to say that this is going to be of type text view here when we go ahead and pass that through. And unexpected view, text view layout tag was relative layout. Oh, I've probably given the incorrect name to, yep, I've called the whole relative layout the login text view. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to call this layout, and then I'm going to now select the text view and paste in the proper information. So yeah, I don't even think the casting was necessarily the problem. Let's see if we can delete that and get, yep, that was not the issue. Okay, so we're in a much better place here now that we've got this going. Let's go ahead and test this to see if we can get that information to show up. So we'll go ahead and run this on the emulator. And once we can confirm that we can get this information to log out, the next step for us is going to be making it so that when they click on that we can, change everything from being in a sign up mode to a login mode. But then if they tap it again to go back to a login mode, we just want to be able to switch between the two states there. So here it comes. Let's go ahead and hit that text view, and let's have logcat here so that we can see what's going on. And oops, I want to close this out. Let's see if nope, I want just logcat. There we go. And oh great, now I'm showing, no, put that down, and logcat, there we go. Geez. So once this is open, let's tap this a few times and look at that, it's showing up down below. Okay, so we know that that's working for us. After we've done this, and I mean, so we probably don't need to say that this was tapped. But like I said, the next thing is we want to get the proper setup here. So there's a couple of things that we want to do. And the first one is we should have a Boolean up here at the top that tells us whether we're in sign up mode or login mode. And we can kind of switch back and forth whenever we hit this on click. So I'm going to make a new Boolean that I'm going to call sign up mode active. Okay, and this is going to tell us whether or not we're in sign up mode or login mode. And I'm going to set it equal to true initially. A few other things that we're going to need is that login button. We should have, or that text view, we should have that up here. So I'm actually just going to go down and copy this, delete the beginning part here, and I'll go ahead and paste that up top so we have access to it. Here inside, we want to have access to the actual sign up button. So we're going to say button, and I'll call this sign up button is equal to find view by ID, capital R.ID.sign up button. Okay. Now with these things in place, we can sort of do a little if statement on when someone is trying to switch from one mode to the other. So the if that we want to check for is, well, what mode are we in? So we're going to say if sign up mode active. So if they are currently in sign up mode, this means they're trying to go to login mode. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our sign up mode active, and we're going to set this equal to false. Next step for us is we have to update our sign up button. So we're going to take our sign up button, and we are going to say set text on that. And the text that we want to set it equal to is just simply login. But then we also want to update this text view to say, you can switch back to sign up if you want to. So we're going to say log in text view dot set text, and we are going to pass in there or comma sign up. So we'll go ahead and add that. So now you can probably imagine the else situation is basically the exact opposite of all this. So I'm going to copy all this code and just line by line do the opposite. So instead of false, this should be true. Instead of login, this should say sign up, and this should say or log in. And I guess I'm kind of being inconsistent here. I want it to be consistent. So this is going to say sign up, and I should probably go back here and change this to, oh, we have sign up separated there. Okay, so we're at a good place. So that should be a good looking app. Let's go ahead and give it the old testaruski. We'll hit run here and see what this looks like. So we should see the text for the button and the text view sort of flipping back and forth, and sort of behind the scenes this Boolean should be switching back and forth, and we'll know that it's working if we see that text switching back and forth. So here's the emulator. Let's hit that button, and oh yeah, look at that. We can just ding, 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 go ahead and fly between each of those. So with that in place, now that we can, determine whether we're in login mode or sign up mode, what we want to do now is, after we make sure they've added a username and a password, when we're coming down here to, do the sign up, we only want to do the sign up is, if they're in sign up mode. So we'll do an if statement here where we say if sign up mode active, we'll do our opening curly bracket, and we want to do that do all this stuff up to this point if that's the case. So we get that nice tab. But then we have an else to say, hey, if that didn't work out, this is a login situation. So this is when we want to log somebody in. So this is where we're going to go ahead and write the code in order to log someone in. So we'll just say capital parse user dot log in background, and a few things that we got to pass inside of here. So the first one is we got to get that username, edit text dot get text dot toString. That gives us the username. Next, we got to do the similar thing for the password. So we'll get the edit text dot get text dot toString. Excellent. And then the last thing that we need is a new, we want this to be login callback. So this will tell us, whether or not this all worked out. So we'll do a quick check here to make sure we actually have a user. So we're going to say, as long as user is not equal to null, that means we're probably in a good place. Let's just go ahead and log out, or I say log out. I'm not trying to log out of the app. I want to log some information that says something like login, and we'll say okay, exclamation point. And the else in this situation is when we would want to display a message to the user. So we can actually just copy this code that we had for when someone's trying to do a sign up and paste it in, because in both situations the exception is called E. So we can just go ahead and do that. So with that in place, let's go ahead and give this a test. We'll hit the run button here. And this is kind of our big moment of truth. We should see, we're able to successfully sign people up. Maybe we're not able to, but let's go ahead and check it out. And the one that I want to work with is this new user, John. We'll try signing up with a wrong password and see what we get there. So we're going to put John for the name, and then let's do a password of I'm just going to enter in some random gibberish, and I'm going to try and sign up. So we should get the message, account already exists. That's good. But let's switch to login. I'm going to try and log in, and it's going to say invalid username or password. Okay, well, what happens if I go ahead and change this to ABC123? We don't see anything here, but that should mean that if we go back to Android Studio inside of Loghead, look at that. The login is okay. So that means we're ready to rock and roll. So it's with that message that we know that this app is officially ready to go. Really, the next step for us is if we go ahead and look at this emulator here, there's one kind of big glaring thing that I want to fix. And that's this keyboard. It's kind of just in the way. I'd like it if I clicked outside of it for it to disappear. And I'd like it so that I could hit this button when I'm finished typing my password and it will automatically be entered in. So that's what we're going to cover in the next lecture. I just actually realized while we're looking at this, we have our password exposed without showing the proper sort of password, dot, to sort of hide what it is that the user's typing in case someone, they're in a public place on their phone, which is quite common. So let's get our second edit text here. And once we're there, we want to go ahead and update the input type. And we want to change this to be the text password. So let's go ahead and find that. Boom, we've got the text password. Go ahead, hit OK on that. And now when we go ahead and type, we should see the dots. But still, sort of the bigger thing and what we're going to be covering in the next lecture is the fact that we need to be able to have some sort of relationship to manage that keyboard. So let's go ahead and test this out. Make sure we type something. Oh yeah, there's those bullet points we're looking for. Let's try and log in with this. It says invalid username and password. Of course, some random name and random password wouldn't work. Okay, let's go check that out.